And we are live. Welcome, everyone. We are back. The Super Genius Business Minds.
I love
And
that, James.
I know this is fortunately and unfortunately going to be our last time together. All three of us are doing some amazing things. Great things have come up for us that is occupying our time. I can't wait till Melissa tells you all what she has going on, um, and what she shared with me before we started. But as always, I am James, the Ascension Coach, and I help people connect with higher states of consciousness, align with their higher selves, and discover their soul's purpose. I am so excited to say this, and now I'm gonna let Melissa introduce herself.
Well,
I'm just
hi.
saying that.
And it's good to be back. Like I said to James before the show, I mean, I'm sad that this is the last one, but on the other hand, I'm so excited because we all just seem to be kind of rocketing off into all these different new areas. That's just like, whew, which is fantastic. So I am the Empathy Queen, and I teach EQ via empathy to leadership, which what that is learning how to utilize your emotional intelligence skills through the use of empathy for better innovation, productivity, and profit. And yes, I can back that up.
James, you
ma'am.
did say something when we, just before Melissa spoke, is that we're together for the last time. Never is a long time, and I don't believe this is the last time.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always like saying I haven't achieved this yet.
Yeah. I like that. Much better said. Much better said.
Yeah.
Yes. So, well, this is in line with who I am. I help people become limitless. There are no limits. Only what goes on in between, Barry will back that up here, that the hardware can get bogged down by the software. And so I'm speaking to the high achievers, the action takers, the people who have done so much work, but they still find themselves hitting a plateau, and they for whatever reason, those blocks are keeping them from their greatness. And I help people break through to become limitless. And I'm so excited to be here today.
I love it. I love it. I'm just basking in this moment. I need to find some words to say something. So what we're talking about today is really is the place that we're currently at in our own individual's journey and collectively. And it's really about pursuing your passion. And I always think about Melissa and how she shared very early on in our when we started doing this. She talked about how for a while she was just really quiet, really in the background, really not doing anything, knowing that she should be doing something, and then just kind of raising up and going after it, if I can say it that way. And really, that's what pursuing your passion is really about. Um, um, while she's departed briefly, Lisa had some things came up that we have to change our time because she's doing some great work as well. Yeah. Sorry. So because she's doing some great work as well. And then I just had a conversation with Lisa last week that my higher self is telling me I need to pursue what I have not pursued at all this year. And so we were talking today about pursuing your passion and really trusting that inner voice that says the time is now. So, Melissa, what was going on with you when I think you might have mentioned it before, but if you can just let us know again, what was going on in you when you said, I need to be out there more?
Well, back in January or so, it was just that I knew I couldn't keep going the way I had been. I knew it had reached a point that it was going to be either I was just going to have to fold or I was going to have to dig my way out. And it just became very clear that this was the path that I needed to take. And it's so funny because I was just like, well, I'm going to write a book. And it's like, where did that come from? Well, I don't know, but I think I'm just going to write a book. Okay, well, let's write a book, and it helped that I had the right people in place at the right time, because I think that's how a lot of this works, is that people line up for us when we're in the correct alignment, and they just kind of show up when they're supposed to. And like at that point, Lisa helped me with working through some stuff, and I connected with the hounds. And like, that was even that first meeting I connected with you, James. And it just kind of happened. And it was really funny the way it happened so quickly, because it's like, once I got my wheels on the road, then I was able to go. And now the book comes out in September. I've been doing these podcasts. And as I was sharing with you right before, I'm actually going to Cambridge University in the UK next week to speak on the courage to communicate, EQ, empathy, and the evolution of leadership. And I'm thrilled. And like, even 6 months ago, had you asked me, I would have thought you were, not on this planet. If you would have said, this year you're going to go to the UK, you're going to write a book, and you're going to actually finally pin down what you're going to do, and it's not going to have anything to do with music at all.
Wow.
But here it is.
Here it is. Wow. So Lisa, for yourself, what would you say around pursuing your passion and trusting that inner voice?
Well, that's all I've ever done, James, and it's actually been out of necessity for survival, because there was no safety net of parenting or nurturing or guidance. So I just had to figure it all out. And so really, from a very early age, I had to just trust my gut. Made some bad choices along the way. And that, I think that's just through immaturity as well, and lack of wisdom, that, even though you're on the right path, you're doing stupid things and hurting people and but I mean, I absolutely love what Melissa said. In the right people show up at the right time, and this comes back to who, not how, right? Fantastic book by Dan Sullivan. And it's also, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that whole alignment, the reason it happens so quickly, and this is our quantum aspect of things, is that there is no time-space reality when you're in alignment and you're working beyond your 3D self. You're working into your higher self. And so for me, last year, I made a decision in February, and it was guided by a book. I read The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, and I just thought, the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is because I kept hitting a wall, and it was just like, oh, I know I'm way beyond this. And so the key was in the surrender, and many things have actually transpired, morphed, manifested so rapidly, because my North Star is very clear. I know what I want. I know who I can serve. I know what my mission is in the world. And how, that part I don't know. But the who keeps showing up. And in the last few weeks as well, since all of this, I'm going to say this wobble happened in our little threesome, is that was, I believe, just the energy blast that we needed to just take a little bit of a look sideways as to where we needed to go, the direction. And even though I've got a little bit of unusual business going on the side at the moment with some very mentally ill people, that's also for a reason. But what's actually come out of that is completely different on the flip side of my business. Two very important who's have shown up in the last 2 weeks that have made me go, whoop, taken a big jump again, which is so, so exciting. And so at the moment, this little beautiful 3 SuperGenius Master, sorry. Let's go. 4. We at the moment are just visiting some other places, but we'll come back together for little get-togethers and celebrations and share our genius again.
Yeah. You know what? I want to talk about why we don't pursue our passion.
Yeah.
And I kind of put a little bit of that in the details. It's because I remember during a coaching session maybe a couple of years ago, and I was telling someone that at times we work so hard to get to where we're at that the idea that now I have to get up and go further is like, I don't want to, like, we're comfortable with where we're comfortable at, but we were never meant to stay there. So the idea that, although, how Barry would back me up on this, the brain starts going, hey, we don't want to go through that pain again. We don't want to go through that, all that it took to get mentally, that it took to get how we even got here, that's going to be required to get to that next step. So we get comfortable where we're at. Those fears that we may have thought that we overcame, now new ones come up. And then where we're at, most of us have an audience where we're at, right? And so even to go to that next step, knowing that not everyone is meant to go with us, that means I'm losing that external validation that said I'm so great. And now I'm venturing into the unknown. Will there be people there when I get there? Will they celebrate me, etc.? And all those things play a part in us not pursuing our passion and not trusting that intuitive guidance. And this is what I've learned. And I imagine that Lisa and Melissa may have seen the same. If you're not listening to that voice, if you're not, packing up your bags and preparing to move to that next level, at times it may get louder and louder, but then your life starts to experience some disruptions. It could be around your health. It could be around your money. It could be around your relationship. And it's all purpose to be a wake-up call to go, are you sure you want to stay here? Or are you ready to get going to that next level? And we know that when we start taking that action, everything starts to calm back down again, right? Would any of you like to speak on that part?
I want to add something into what you just said, James. Excuse me for if you were going to say something, Melissa. But the word procrastination comes up a lot, and also people feeling really unhappy with themselves. I believe procrastination isn't this big negative thing. It's if we actually reflect into it, it's a message to say we know what we want. However, we don't know the process. And that's also where who's come into it. If we keep referring to who can help me, then because they know the way, then it takes all of that extra decision making, that decision fatigue out of us, which is so exhausting. Would you both agree with that? Yeah. When you got to keep making decisions and keep learning stuff, it's exhausting. But also procrastination and living in that really unhappy state is the fact that we know that we are not currently living in our full potential. that we have settled for substandard, and that is a very uncomfortable place to live. But why do only a few people make that move? That's one of the great mysteries of the world.
So sometimes it takes having to get, the walls start closing in, things get more and more uncomfortable. But I want to ask Melissa this: when we're in that space, how should we handle? Like, we know we should be moving, but we're not. How do we handle that moment?
I think there's a lot to be said for our perception versus reality, because we get this weird idea. So I was listening to some talks by Sir Ken Robinson. He's actually, he's passed, unfortunately, but he's big into education. And he talked a lot about the problems of our education system and how there's a lot that needs to change because we're not fulfilling human potential. But by the way, no relation. I wish he were. But but he was talking about how he wrote a book called In Your Element, and people actually striving to do the things that they're meant to do. And his point is that in the education system, that people, not everybody's cut out to do math and science, that there are people who want to dance and people who want to sing and people who want to do other things, and that our education system doesn't necessarily support this. But his point was that we look at these things in a very linear fashion. You're putting your resume together to give it into a job, and you see this linear progression. But yet, if you were going to go back and look at it, it probably wasn't linear at all. You took this route, you took that route, and you embraced this opportunity, and you did all these different things. And just now, when you're looking at it in hindsight, it looks like it lines up, but it never really did. And that's a problem with our perception that life is a linear thing, that we move from point A to point B to point C, to the reality of it, which is that we're meant to meander. We're meant to take different opportunities. We're not meant to be in one job for our whole lives. We're meant to do different things in different stages of our lives and that sort of thing. So I think part of being able to embrace, the beautiful chaos that can be life, is to also understand that that's actually what we're meant to do. This idea, this systemic idea that it's a linear thing is not real. That's the illusion.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Yes. It's this squiggly line that takes a big nosedive sometimes.
Yeah. But that's real. That's what happened. So anybody who says their life was linear either is not being honest with you or is not being honest with themselves, and probably both.
Yes. And I love the fact that there's a bit of a spotlight on the education system. Doesn't teach us success principles. And In Your Element, what a beautiful book, the title. And if people are really in a funk right now, what I challenge you to do, I love challenges, is turn the Olympics on and watch it every single day for the next 10 days and watch. I'm having this incredible rush of energy right now. Whew. Very emotional. Watch people go beyond superhuman, living in their element of knowing that they can go beyond ordinary. And they see world records, they see Olympic records, and they see themselves having beat that in their mind when they touch the wall, when they cross the line. I'm an ex-competitive swimmer, so like what's going on in my body right now is huge. And so when you that's passion, isn't it? But all three of us absolutely know what passion is, and we know that fire that is in our body. Everybody can have that if they actually sit down long enough, hard enough, and say, where do I want my life to be in 5 years' time? Where do I want my life to be in 10 years' time? When I'm on my deathbed, what will be going through my head of what I could have achieved in this life and the legacy that I'm leaving.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. I want to switch gears for a moment and talk about the opposite side of pursuing your passion. There's a reason why I put in brackets trusting your intuitive guidance, because at times we want to move and it's not time yet. I can remember at the end of toward the middle to the end of last year, I was chopping at the bit. Last year was my healing journey, for those who don't know, who haven't heard me talk about it. And so I felt like I'm ready. I'm ready to get back out there. I'm ready to, I'm ready to talk about this new message, et cetera, et cetera. And it seemed I tried one thing, I got little to no response. I tried something else maybe a couple of months later, and I knew that it wasn't time. I wanted to be back out there. I wanted to get back into the swing of things. But after that second time, I was like, okay, I get it. It's not time yet. And it's interesting because when it was time, which coincided with the new year, everything opened up. Similar to your experience, Melissa, everything opened up, offers left and right, things going on here and there. And so we also had to be careful about listening, or at least cultivating. And I want to ask you this, Lisa, about how we cultivate listening to that inner guidance or that inner voice. But we need to get to the place where we are like, yeah, it's not time, or as Melissa knew, as Lisa knew, as myself knew, it's now time. So, Lisa, how do we kind of cultivate that being able to hear and listen intently to that still small voice?
James, I think the first step is awareness.
Yeah.
And there are so many people who are not aware because of all the chatter. The monkey mind is constantly, and the consumption world of food, of drink, of social media, that the consumption is to keep us from going into that place. Because quite a lot of the time when you do finally get still enough, the disappointment of where you are is too hard to face.
Yeah.
So it comes down to the whole, once upon a time, before we weren't digitally connected, we were more present. We were more aware of ourself and our body and the noise going on within us, and more. I think being intuitive was probably easier because we didn't have so much distraction. Yeah. And so it comes down to being quiet. So if the awareness isn't there, you're not going to learn how to be quiet and take on that mindfulness aspect of, how do I go within? How do I start listening to that inner guidance? And it comes down to, once again, if you're getting nudged enough by your higher self because things are crappy enough, then I think somebody will bump into you. There will be an event that you end up at. There will be something happen in your life where your path is interrupted. So all of a sudden, you've been taken on this journey of learning to go in and take a look in and be curious as to what's in there, who's in there. And, if you think about it, do you guys have mind chatter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Who's talking?
It's always a great question.
Who is that? So the fact that you can be aware of, who the heck is that? It's literally Barry playing a subconscious program, and it's not you. It's not your higher self. So start to question that chatter, because it's just an old software program playing. And I love what you said. You feel pain when you're basically at the wrong time. It's a classic saying by Tony Robbins, is that if you do the right thing at the wrong time, you feel pain. If you do the right thing with the wrong people, you feel pain.
Yeah.
So yeah. So when you're in alignment, it's flow. And Melissa is experiencing that. James, you know that. I know that.
Yeah.
And when you're in a flow state, you're actually you're going along, you know, your little 3D humanness is going alongside your higher self. They're saying you're on the right track right now. It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, and I'm always being transparent about my stuff. I had a coaching call, I think it was about 3 months back, and it was with Heidi Mark. I think she's in the house as well. Pretty sure she's in the house. And in talking to her, I realized that I actually had a fear around. Now, for me, my ego goes, "You're the ascension coach. Fear doesn't show up in our reality." But but you know, talking to her, I recognized that there was a fear around really stepping out on my own, because I spoke to Lisa last week and Melissa before we started, talking about collaborations became my safe place, because it did serve the purpose of helping me hone my message, being able to speak ascension in a business setting, what that looks like, what that sounds like. But then I may have been the one that got too comfortable, because I think this was two or 3 months back, and I was like, "Yeah, Heidi, I'm gonna start my own podcast, just doing my thing." That was a while ago, and I just had the conversation last week that, okay, I'm gonna start doing it now. And so, you know, to Lisa's point, we have to be aware, and sometimes you can still be aware that that's not your voice and still feel like, yeah, let's go with what that person said or what that voice is saying. But essentially, and this may not be the case for everyone, essentially, you have to push through the discomfort. As long as you know that this is what you're supposed to be doing, there can almost be an expectation that there's going to be discomfort, because your body, your mind is saying, "Hey, this is not what we're used to. What are you doing?" And obviously, we all, I think all three of us know, and even those who are watching this, know how the brain and the mind is trying to protect us. But at some point, you have to go, "I got this. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate, I understand this voice in the head is for this purpose." But it's about going through, and I call it the rickety bridge. With my clients, I call it the rickety bridge. It's about crossing that rickety bridge, knowing that it's going to hold you till you get to the other side. And so going through discomfort may be a part of the journey in pursuing your passion.
You know, there's the bias.
Sorry. I recently heard someone said, "Embrace the suck."
Yeah.
Sorry, Melissa, go on.
That's all right. No, that's Brene Brown. She's the one that talks about embracing the suck. But there's an Anais Nin quote, which is what I was thinking of, that says that there reached a point where to remain tight in the bud was more uncomfortable than to blossom. And I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's about pressing through. It's about pressing through. And again, the big thing is when you know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and okay, it's going to be uncomfortable. And then also understanding that, and this is some of the fears that have come up with clients, that when you want to go to that next level or try something new, you're also learning it to some extent of, there's going to be some stumbles, right? And they're worried about people seeing them stumble in this new space that they're in. And so maybe in talking about this new thing or doing this new thing, they don't articulate it the way they articulated the last thing. Or It could be little technical glitches or whatever. They're worried about being seen as not good enough in this new space that they're just starting. And what I tell them is that as you progress on, people are not even going to remember anything that didn't look like it made sense.
Yeah.
And really, as we all know, people are just looking for the solution to their problems. They don't care what it looks like, how it sounds like. If you got the answer to my question or my challenge or my solution, look, you can stumble your way into anything as long as I get it at the end. So I don't know if you want to talk to that or if you've experienced that, but that's something that I've experienced, and then I tell my clients after the fact, don't worry about it. They're not even going to remember.
I'd love to ask Melissa a question.
Yeah.
Melissa, what you're doing with empathy and EQ, it's not status quo.
No.
And you're really putting yourself out there in a blue ocean environment of bringing awareness to this thing. And so how are you coping with what's going on within you while you're, laser focused on pursuing this? Because there's probably some mini tornadoes going on at times.
Well, sure. I mean, anytime you take on some, brand new territory, I think you never really know, and you don't. But so there's two things I try to remember as far as like the stumbling and not being sure. It's called the 3-month mark. If I'm 3 months forward in time and I look back to what I'm doing right now, is it going to be this big spotlighted thing like I feel like it is right now because I'm looking at it? Or is it going to be like, that happened 3 months ago? For some reason, there's just something about that time frame, 90 days, that you look back and you're just like, yeah, I maybe could have handled that better, but you know what? It's gone now. Can't do anything about it. And you learn from it and you acknowledge and you move on. The other thing that I actually really struggle with is that I really am building the plane while I'm flying it. So it's like things change, or I'll do some extra research where things will move a little bit, or, I have all this stuff happening at the same time. I can't look to anybody else and go, well, what did they do? Because they haven't done it. So I just keep thinking that this is something that I really feel important enough about, not just for leadership, but socially, that any mistakes I make are going to be overcome with the potential good that could come out of this. And I really mean what I say when I say, if I can bring good to a single person, then this is all worth it. And as long as I keep that in mind with a servant's attitude, then the tornadoes aren't quite so bad because it's not about me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that, because you're paving a process, like you're creating a framework, and that's the whole laboratory process going on, is that you're doing experiments almost. I'm bringing back the science brain of, okay, well, at the moment I feel like I should be going this way, and you try that, and it didn't quite work, so I'm going to slightly tweak the recipe and make a shift on the GPS, and
Right.
and so that you're your own human case study going on right now. So all of that data is absolute. Gosh, I'm starting to sound like Melissa.
Yes, and I like it.
Me and statistics just didn't get along. It's so funny. Became a medical scientist and needed tutoring in chemistry, physics, and statistics, because math and formula isn't my thing. So yeah, the all of that, and you can say, well, in this case study, I tried this, and the outcome wasn't where I wanted it to be, so I made some adjustments. And so this is beautiful, because right now you're literally building the plane on a gut feeling. And that is really powerful, because that's your intuition, that's your higher self, and you know where your own North Star is with this particular field that you're bringing to the world from a new perspective, which is fantastic
And fun.
and
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, when you're doing what you love, it is fun.
Yeah.
So I have a question for both you ladies, but I'm going to preface it with this. I'm at a place as a single person where it's whoever shows up has to understand my purpose, understand, has to be in alignment with what I've been called to do. But I know there's some people who are watching and who are listening, and you two have great support systems. I absolutely love Dan and Lisa. You talk about your partner often. What advice would you give to people who are being called to pursue their passion, but their partner isn't as supportive?
Well,
I know.
yeah. So let me just speak it back so I can make sure I understand exactly what you're asking. So what you're saying is that you feel you have this passion, this thing that's drawing you forward, and you have support. It just may not be in your partner, at least not at this point. Am I understanding that?
Yeah, that's fair to say. Or that your partner is like, maybe you need to think about doing something different, or only one who understands our purpose is really us, the way we do. So whether it's from your partner or your family or someone is going, you know what, do you think maybe you should do something different? But this is what you're supposed to be doing.
The thing is nobody lives behind your eyes except you.
Right.
Even people that love us, even people that want the best for us, they still don't have the point of view that you have. And I'm very lucky with the person I'm with now, with Dan, because even when he doesn't get it, and I can be confusing. I understand this. I'm sure there are times that he seriously wonders, but he gives me that blanket support just because he understands that I'm the one that is driving this bus. Yeah. And he gets that. I'll say there have been people in the past who weren't so supportive, but there's a difference between not necessarily being supportive and being unsupportive.
Okay.
They're two different things. Okay. So like with Dan, even though he may not always be able to completely support what I'm doing, he's never unsupportive. Yeah. When it reaches the point that someone becomes unsupportive, they no longer are curious about what's going on behind your eyes. They're no longer understanding that you are driving your bus. They have their own bus to drive. Mm-hmm. This one is yours. Mm-hmm. So I would say that it isn't necessarily that the person that you're with be absolutely, completely, and unequivocally supportive of everything. But if they become unsupportive, that can be a real problem. Mm-hmm. But that's just in my experience.
Yeah. That's pretty much what you almost see across the board, really.
Yes.
Yeah. That kind of situation.
And I'll second everything Melissa said. It's a case of, you may not agree with what I'm doing, but I just want you to love me and support me in whatever capacity you can. You don't have to understand how I feel in this thing, but it means so much to me. And for the unsupportive ones, my decision was, I just tapped out of that relationship. Bye-bye. Because it's very hard to be pursuing something that you are driven by your absolute soul with a ball and chain. That will just either make you stop and be as miserable as that person, or you can just decide that your time together has now outgrown each other and that you're on completely different pathways. And so, yeah, I can't live with an unsupportive person. I will not bring myself down to that level. I deserve more than that.
Yeah. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Because it really, listening to you, Lisa, it makes me think about how important our passion and our purpose really is. That I can't, like, I'm in that space now where I can't bring along anyone that isn't supportive of that. No one has to understand. I'm pretty sure my family probably doesn't have a clue what I'm really doing, even though they may like the post, they might like the video. They probably, this ascension stuff. Wait, but to have somebody that's drawing your attention away from your purpose, you trying to accommodate them, trying to make them comfortable with, like, what we're here for is so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that, and I call relationships the highest, one of the highest things you can experience in your life, but it can't get in the way of your purpose. It can't. So, for those who are watching and maybe are going through that, because I've been in rooms where speakers have often asked that question of people, of how do you handle this, or someone may come up to the front going, I've been called to do this, but my husband is supportive. I'm just remembering someone specifically, or my wife isn't supportive, and then just trying to find out what those next steps are. So those are two very insightful, views you gave us, and so hopefully that helps some people who may be listening as well.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to think of it too as, if I were going to die tomorrow, which am I going to regret worse? Am I going to regret worse that I didn't fulfill what I feel I was put here to do, or that I folded and just decided I would rather do what this other person wanted me to do, even though they didn't necessarily understand? Because if one person is growing and the other one isn't, it's like a plant coming up against concrete, but that plant will either find a way around that concrete or it'll just die underneath. Well, which one do you want?
That's it. That's it. That's it. So we are at our usual point. What Lisa here for? I bet you don't have that on any of your lives. You do, Melissa. So
do not.
Enjoy this moment. Hit the replay button when you watch it.
Man, I've missed you guys. I have missed you guys.
The same. And so, so any, as we close, I guess it only makes sense that we all share either what's coming down the pike or what we have going on, so people can still stay connected until, as Lisa pointed out, we may come back together. It's highly possible. But starting with you, Melissa, who has all the things going on right now, just share what you have going on with us.
Well, the book is coming out in September, so I'm really starting the big media push with that, especially in August. So I'm getting out for more speaking stuff. Like I said, I'm going to be in England next week, which was just so cool. The University of Cambridge, that's like the OG Harvard. I'm like,
yes.
I'm going to Hogwarts. So what's not to love? I mean, it's awesome. So I'm working through the podcast circuits. I'm continuing to write. I posted today, I got an article in Authority magazine. So just keep your eyes open, because who knows? I'm gonna ride this train as far as it's gonna take me.
Yay!
I haven't known her as long as you, Lisa, but I still can say I knew her when. When she gets up there and I'm in the crowd, listen, it's James. I love it. All right, Lisa, what's coming down the pipe for you?
Well, I've been building an app for a very long time. Had a few tech issues with it, but it's getting very, very close. So I'm so excited that it's just going to be so exciting. That's all. Where I can build a community, and they're all in one place as well. And so yeah, it's just I'm also I'm speechless about it. I'm that excited. I'm also bringing back in my holistic health component into that fold as well. So I'm really, really excited. These things have just all happened in the last couple of weeks. The right people have given me the right guidance of how to put it all together. So yeah, watch this space.
I love it. I love
What
it.
about
And it's
you,
just,
James? What's going
well,
on?
for myself, I'm going to be talking about the deeper aspects of ascension. You know, it's things that I've just been journaling over the last year and a half, but really haven't had the space. Because I was telling someone, I said, it doesn't fit with what I do with my ladies on Monday. It doesn't. I do a collaboration on Tuesday. It doesn't fit with that. But I'm going to go. At some point, you may hear me and go, "What is James? I love James. I have no clue what he's talking about right now." But it's going to be the deeper aspects of consciousness and spirituality, parallel realities, all of that fun stuff. And I think I was telling Melissa, I think I'm gonna utilize, this time slot, but it'll be on Monday for sure, starting this Monday. Yeah.
Fabulous. I'm so excited for you, James and Melissa. It's beautiful. And we just need sort of like 90-day reunions where we come back together and say, hey, this is happening.
That would be all right. I would do a quarterly check-in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm here for it.
Well, if this is your time slot, James, would just pull us in on one of your things every 90 days.
No, we deserve our own spot. I would totally go, you know what? The Journey to Ascension podcast is on hold for today. We're bringing back the SuperGenius Business Minds. So, or Masterminds. So, yeah. So having said that, ladies, I love you, Melissa. I love you, Lisa. This has been so much fun. We're appreciative of everyone that has chimed in. This has been probably the most fun of any podcast I've ever been a part of. So many great memories in just 16 sessions. So
yeah, love you both so much, and love our listeners. Thank you for all the supporting people who have been on and just listened and made comments, and all those people who watch the replays. Thank you.
Yes,
exactly. Yes. Any words from you, Lisa? Melissa, just saying we're ready to say goodbye.
Well, just much love to you guys. This has been such an incredible journey. I mean, I think about the first show up until now, and we've grown together, and we've being able to suddenly pull everything together.
Just for old time's sake. I'm sorry. We're gonna
well, just I think of you guys so fondly, and this has been amazing.
Absolutely. So having said that, we love you all. We appreciate you all. And we say goodbye for now.
Yes. Goodbye for now.